Hey guys, so today we're going to be taking a look at this. This is the GameSir Cyclone 2 gaming controller. GameSir sent me the Cyclone 2 to review, but it's not a sponsored video. This is going to be all my own opinion. This is a very delightful controller to use. I'm going to tell you why. Pro controllers that are different than like a stock Xbox or a stock PlayStation controller, have certain features that are very important. I'm going to outline them. The first one, of course, is going to be some type of a rear paddle system, and this one has two rear paddles. Some controllers will have four, some have two. For example, Sony's high-end DualSense Edge has only two paddles in the back. From my experience, two paddles for the most part is more than enough. Anytime I use a controller that has four paddles, it's a little bit tricky because it's hard to use all four. Two, sometimes I like to do the left one, for example, for some type of like a jump motion, which would be, in this case, A, and then the right one, B, and you can remap these, of course, on the controller itself. So A or B, usually more than enough. The idea of the paddles in the back, to keep your fingers free to stay on the thumbsticks. For example, I've been playing a lot of Ghost of Tsushima and games like that, so when you're in like a heavy battle, and this will apply for FPS games like Call of Duty as well, you can basically just, you'll use the left paddle to jump and maybe to roll or get out of the way with the right paddle, and your fingers can stay on the thumbsticks. You can also map them if you want to X or Y, if you want to have them to be like an action, like a punch or something like that. So once again, your fingers stay. So these very nice two paddles, you can remap them easily. You just do it on the controller itself, or you can use the software. Very easy to do it on the controller. There's a little button here, the map button. You just hold that, then you're going to hold the paddle, the button you want to map to. So those are pretty straightforward. So that's the first thing. This is going to have those mappable rear paddles. Anytime I pick up a standard Xbox controller, for example, that doesn't have it, I feel like a fish out of water. So it's certainly important to have these paddles. And now let's hear a word from our sponsor, VIP-CDKdeals.com, a Windows Pro CD key. Add to cart, you put in code CC20. This will also work on Windows 11. You want to go into your settings in Windows, change and adjust your CD key, click activate, and now let's go back to the video. Now, a second important feature of a lot of these type of new controllers, it's going to be the joysticks. Not just how the joystick themselves feel, that's important of course, but what they're actually made of. This is going to have TMR, which is going to be similar if you heard of Hall effects sticks. They're going to be magnetic. TMR is actually like the newest variety of this, and it's more accurate in general than Hall effects. So this TMR, it's called the GameSir MagRes TMR sticks. So they give you really good linear output, really high precision. Obviously, if you're using a standard controller like an Xbox or PlayStation controller that has a regular potentiometer, and this is why this is good, those get stick drift. And I know some people never get it, some people do. I've had a decent amount of controllers and you do get stick drift in some of them. And if it's only a little bit, it's usually not that big of a deal, but on some controllers, like the last DualSense controller that I had, the stick drift was so bad that you would just leave it like on a menu or map screen, and it would scroll by itself, or the character would just start walking anywhere. That's how you see if you have stick drift. You can use a tool like Gamepad Tester, which you can Google, and they'll show you if your controller goes back to the center, if it has stick drift or not, or in the game, like an FPS game, if your character starts moving by himself to the left or to the right, then you know you have a problem, or looking around. So these magnetic TMR, thumbsticks, they're going to pretty much solve that problem. It's much better reliability, so that way a lot of people have to replace a controller because of stick drift, and you're not going to get that with something like this. And remember, this costs $55.99. So that's a pretty impressive price, as you see some of the other features that it comes with. So that's a pretty impressive option. If you try to add a Hall effect stick or even TMR on like a custom controller, for example, it really bumps the price, and only like the best of the best controllers have this. So that's a very impressive feature to have at this price point. That's a pretty incredible price point. I mean, $55.99 is like the cost of some upgrades on a custom controller when you build those out to like $300, for example. So that's definitely pretty impressive. So that's the second important thing. The third important thing of some type of a Pro controller, of course, is to have some type of instant or clicky triggers. They call it like mouse click or something with a trigger stop. I prefer this way more than something that just has a trigger stop. For example, something like this. This is an Xbox Elite Series 2 controller. It's a little modified, so it's not stock. I put a faceplate on it. It does have regular triggers, but then you press a little button in the back and you hear that. It's like trigger stops. This basically puts some type of plastic there and it stops the trigger from going that low. So that way, basically the idea is that you get much faster response. If you're playing an FPS game, you just hit it. You don't have to have all of the travel. On this one, the Cyclone 2, you can do the same thing. It has a little toggle here. That's what the regular switch sounds like. Then you toggle it right on the trigger itself, there to the right, and then all of a sudden you hear that. It sounds like a mouse click, very satisfying and significantly better than this much more expensive Xbox Series 2. This controller, the Elite that comes with the case, costs $140 with the little dock. This one, $55.99. So you see the difference. This one much better. And then the bumpers, same thing. You get nice clicky bumpers as well, very satisfying. So that's going to be the third most important thing of a Pro controller, pretty much. It's going to be having some type of trigger system. Now, some controllers just keep it with this little short click, but this one is very nice that you can actually change. If you want the longer throw, let's say if a game you're playing like a racing game, for example, you want to have the regular trigger so you can go all the way down when you're accelerating and braking and things like that. And if you're playing an FPS game, you put it on this mode and you get those little mouse clicks. Very, very important for a nice controller. Now, the fourth thing that's important are going to be the face buttons. Now, some controllers just keep it stock. They're going to be similar to your Xbox or PlayStation stock controllers, which are fine. But if you listen, something like this, you hear the face controller themselves are also very clicky, very tactile. Not only does it feel great to use, I feel like it's more responsive. Some controllers, it feels like the membrane is getting a little bit stuck. You can hear, like, this is an Xbox Elite Series 2 controller, which is a very high-end first-party controller. And, the button clicks are fine, but they don't feel the most responsive. On this one, much, much better. They feel like little mini, mouse clicks and things like that. So that's very, very good. While people can get away with having this last feature with like a, clicky face buttons, it's definitely the other features I spoke about are more important, like the paddles and the triggers being shorter. With the mouse click, those are much more important, but this is still very nice to have, and to have it on a controller that's $55.99, that's pretty impressive. If that was all that it was, just this wireless, and it's wireless, of course, if it was just this wireless controller, that'd be impressive enough, but it also comes with features that are usually more expensive. Like, for example, look, this is a little stand, it's magnetic, so you put the controller right on there, it snaps right into place. Nice and magnetic, and this is going to serve two purposes. First, it's going to charge your controller, so you don't have to, keep moving around the cable. You can put it right on your desk. It's nice to display your controller. It looks very nice, by the way. The aesthetics of it. I know we're talking about performance first. They also make this in white, so it's going to charge your controller. But not only that. Look, this is going to be the little USB dongle for the wireless connectivity. There's a space right in the back for it. And in the front, you're going to plug in the USB-C cable to your computer. And then this is going to be basically your receiver. So this is not only a charging dock, it's also your receiver. Some controllers will charge you like $30 to $40 to have the same functionality, if they can even do it. So to have that included in the box with a controller of this really good quality already, that's certainly pretty impressive. I mean, it's $55.99, and to get basically a complete like pro high-end controller experience is pretty impressive. Obviously, there are nuances between this and some more expensive controllers, but you're getting like the most impressive features basically right out of the box with this. The paddles, that's gonna fulfill the biggest requirement. Then you have the triggers, which you can make either instant triggers or regular ones. That's the second biggest thing. To some people, they might even be the most important. And then having the nice face buttons as well, being nice and responsive. And the design of the controller itself, very similar to an Xbox controller. You can see they both follow that same, you know, the same rough shape, same rough design. So it feels great ergonomically. It's a very light controller. The grip is also probably going to be like the 5th most important thing on some type of pro controller. You can see like this Elite series has a nice grip on the back here. This one also has, you know, a very, very slight grip. It's nothing too aggressive, but it is a grippy texture. It's not something that, you know, when I'm playing, that doesn't slip around. Like, that's a frustrating experience. That's why people put, you know, grip tape or something like that, like control freaks, on the controller itself. This one feels pretty grippy. There's no rubber or anything like that. Just the rubber, the plastic casing is already fairly grippy. So it feels very, very nice in the hand. And the design is understated. It's a black controller with a few designs that you have going to the side here. Then you have, of course, your D-pad there. That comes with that standard D-pad. And then your typical, you know, you'll have your button, which basically would be the Xbox button, or when you're doing Steam Big Picture mode or something like that. So overall, very, very nice. And obviously, if you need to charge it or connect it with a cable, it's USB-C, which is basically the standard now going forward. It also does have Bluetooth, and it has a little area on top of the controller here. If you need to plug in, you can actually put a phone, a little phone holder. And if you're going to play with a Bluetooth, you know, device such as this, you have your phone right here. So it's a great mobile type of controller as well, not just for, you know, your Xbox and your computer. So that's very, very good. Some of the other interesting things, obviously, you can map the different keys, especially to the paddles. Have, of course, vibrations or the rumble feature. So when you're playing the game, it's going to be, you know, much more immersive. You can, of course, in the game, turn it off if you're playing an FPS game or something like that, even if you don't want to be disturbed by them. But it does have it, which is a nice feature to have. I personally do like the rumble features in controllers, and it's implemented pretty nicely here as well. Then if you dive deeper into the software of the controller, it'll have other features, like it has a turbo feature on some buttons and things like that. I prefer to play it sort of standard as is, but those features are there if you want to check them out. And it also has a few other features that people will appreciate. Obviously, you have your 3.5mm headphone jack right here underneath the controller. If you want to plug in your headset. And it does have gyro as well. It's a 6-way gyro if you like to use your controller for, you know, for motion when you're playing. So that's another feature that a lot of controllers don't have, especially, you know, third-party controllers. So that's a really cool feature to have. So you see, I mean, they pack an incredible amount of features for $55.99. It really is hard to find fault with this particular controller. For $55.99, I can't think of anything in the market that feels like this. The controller itself is good, comes with the accessory package that's complete and very useful. I mean, you put this on your desk, it looks nice. The controller's not thrown around. It's also the 2.4 gigahertz, you know, wireless dongle. So overall, that's a really stunning package for $55.99. All right, guys, so let me know what type of controller you're using and what you think of this one in particular as well. I'll leave some links in the description below. Remember to subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next video.